Hello and welcome to Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast for Celtic fans all over this great big planet. From Lynn Park to Leith, Maryhill to Musselburgh, wherever you happen to be watching from, you're very much part of a Celtic world. And let's go round the windows here and say hello to everyone. As you can see, we have Paul, Ian and Kaiser joining us. Let's go to Paul first. Hello, Paul.
Hey Gav, how are you? Looks like I'm going to be doing a bit more heavy lifting than usual.
Yes, we were supposed to be 4, but that's not happening. Ian has cried off with the cold, and I'm not sure what's happened, Kaiser. But as we both noted, he was awake quite late last night in the chat group.
He was,
and
yeah.
Maybe his alarm hasn't done its trick. But anyway, it's the two of us, and that's fine. We have plenty of company in the live chat, of course.
We do.
Big Des is in there saying it's a liberty. All we can take from our Champions League campaign is pride. Pride and proud are the two most overseen words in the past few days, aren't they? By us. Tam Mac's in there. Dano's in there. What up, Dano? Dano, you could, if you're free to watch, you could be coming on the show.
You might be on the train. Who knows?
Craig Young is in the house. Too many to mention. But I'll say hello to just a few. How you doing, everyone? Good to see you. All right. So, Paul, what are we going to be talking about today? I hear you ask. This is the menu. We're going to talk about the game generally. Because today's Thursday and the game was Tuesday, you know, we've all seen the post-game analyses. So there's not much point in doing all of that ourselves 48 hours after the event. But we'll obviously have to catch up with your thoughts on the game. And then a few events around the game. And the name of this show, now for the treble. It's time to turn our attention back to affairs domestic, with Hibs coming up next. And the biggest news of all, forget Champions League and Bayern Munich and everything. There's a rumor going around that Sevco are about to be the subject of a multi-billion-dollar takeover or something by the 49ers. So we'll talk about that, pour some scorn and sneer at it a little bit, and say even if there's truth in it, you know, they have a lot of work to do to get to where we are, etc. And then if there's time, given especially that there's just the two of us, Paul, there may be time for this little quiz between you and a nominated person from the chat.
All right,
so that
okay.
Would be fun. That would be fun. So tell us about the circumstances of you watching the game.
Well, I watched the game. Obviously Wednesday morning, 4 a.m. our time, Gav. I didn't have a perfect lead into that because I started work at about 6:30 on Tuesday and didn't get home from work until about 10 p.m., which on a Champions League night where I've got to get up at 4 a.m. is about an hour past my bedtime. So that was not ideal. But yeah, eventually got some kip, probably got about 5 and a bit hours sleep, which is not too bad. Because once you're up at 4 o'clock to watch the game, you're not going back to sleep before work. So it's a long one. But yeah, anyway, I was up nice and bang on 4 o'clock. Had on the coverage. Delighted to see the team lines kind of as we hoped, but maybe not as, or certainly as I hoped, and certainly I think a lot of people hoped, but maybe didn't quite believe that we would make the selection we did. I think we most. Well, yeah, like I think most of us thought that Maeda probably would get the nod, just how Ida was used on the weekend. He played sort of 84, 85 minutes. So I felt like that was reasonably locked in, but I just didn't think, I thought he'd revert to Greg Taylor, even though he's a targeted weak spot in Europe. And obviously I rate Greg Taylor. He's been a great servant. But we know he is a weaker link at that kind of level. And especially in Munich, it could have been a concern. And yeah, obviously Sloop's not played a lot of football. He's looked a bit rusty in the time he has had. He played a good 60, 70 minutes the other day. And I just thought, well, maybe that's to try and get him in to be able to play on Tuesday, but potentially it's just, to rest up Taylor so he's fresh. And even when we thought, oh, Alex Valle was the better option, he's never really gone for him. He's always sort of gone with Taylor. So I think that was a bit of a surprise for me and a pleasant surprise. And I think he more than justified the selection. I thought Schlupp had apart from one slip, which nearly cost us in the first half, he had a really, really good game. I think his knowledge of Elise probably added to that. Elise is probably still their most dangerous player, but not a patch on how dangerous he was at our place. And for the most part, Schlupp had him kind of under control and pushed onto his weaker side for the majority of time. So really couldn't. I don't think we could have hoped for a better selection. And to be honest, apart from the obvious, I don't think we could have hoped for a much better performance. I think it was about as good as you could hope for, other than maybe taking an extra chance and not letting the one in at the death. But I don't think many people really thought we could go to Bayern Munich and probably be the better team and deserve to win the match and come within 30 seconds of winning the match in 90 minutes. So yeah, obviously disappointing. Sound like Tav. But I think on sort of 36, 48 hours, whatever it is, 36 hours of reflection, I have softened a wee bit. I've still got a fair amount of realism that it just niggles at me that are we ever going to get a better chance to beat Bayern Munich in Munich? I can't see how that could be the case. They weren't quite at their best. Obviously, the star man went off at half time. We took the lead. We had other chances. I think the whole squad played pretty much out of its skin. I just think we just came up a little bit short with composure in front of goal, and the bench wasn't deep enough. And to be honest, even if we went into the extra time period, I think we could have potentially been really hanging on by that point, because we'd have had to make some changes.
Tell you what,
seeing that weakness.
Paul, your internet seems to be a little bit jumpy, so I'll speak for a bit. But the sound was coming through okay, or pretty okay. Yeah, as Monty says, clear progress in Europe, massive difference. Absolutely true. And there's so many ifs and buts, and what if this had happened, what if that had happened. But ultimately, we did better this year in the Champions League than I thought we were going to do, really. And we had a couple of performances that I just thought, we wouldn't have even dreamed of. One of them was against Bayern. We really looked like we totally belonged. In Leipzig, we looked like we totally belonged. We looked like a decent Champions League side, which, it's easy to forget where we were coming off the back of last season. I just didn't know if that was really going to be possible. So I was thrilled. Your picture has frozen completely. Are you still with me, Paul?
I am.
Okay.
It's looking fine at my end. Is it okay at yours?
Say that again.
It's looking fine at my end. How is it looking at yours?
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, it's jumping around all over the place. But anyway. So I think plenty of reasons to be happy. Recrimination, sure, but that's football. At any level, they'll always have things you can look back on and say, if this had happened, if only, that's the nature of sport. So, I'm very pleased. I'm going to avoid saying I'm proud of the team, proud of the boys. But, that is the sentiment,
Yeah, there's definitely like a tinge of regret for sure. But if we take a step back, look at the context, bigger picture, I thought we could get out of the group. I thought we could get out of the group. I thought we could get into the knockouts. Realistically, I wasn't sure. You'd have needed a real good draw or phenomenal performance. In the end, we didn't really get a great draw, but we did have a phenomenal performance. And across the two legs, really, really fine margins that come down to it. We lose a couple of sloppy goals at home. We miss a couple of chances at home. We create 4 chances in the first half and miss them all. And then we get done on a goal that, probably even shouldn't have got to that point if we think about the Mira sort of forearm to the face. And the slip by CCV as he's clearing it and sort of kicks it against himself. And if he doesn't slip, he clears that before the the scorer escapes me briefly, but
Alfonso Davis.
Afonso Davis, yeah. So he's just coming in, but if CCV doesn't slip, and it's a real bad, unfortunate slip, but if he doesn't slip, he just scoops that away with his right foot before Davis arrives, but he doesn't. He slips and he hits it against his left foot, and then it's just there to bundle in. So, really kind of disappointing, but ultimately we've put ourselves up in a really good showing. Where from here, I said this in the group chat, I think this can't be a high watermark if you're a Celtic fan. Like, we can't regress from here. This has got to be a jumping off point to the next level of our development. And the comments from the manager afterwards were really positive on that basis. He said he wants us to be a seasoned team at this level. He wants to push us on to the next level. We'll need reinforcements, etc. Now, I don't know if that's just him putting the word out to the board that's going to be required, or whether that's already expected. But we've kind of been here in the past where we've sort of got close to being having good turns in Europe, and it's been a bit of a one season wonder, and then it's disappeared for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So yeah, we really need to push on from here, because undoubtedly there'll be turnover in the squad, but then the investment needs to be in at the right level so that we can push on.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, I feel like we need to move on to some imagery, even though we don't have that much. But anyway, let's do that, and we'll see how we get on as we go through this. So, start with this one. If we're going to talk about individual performances, I was just watching that whole game thinking, oh my God, Alistair Johnston, what a beast he is, playing out of his skin. He's as the comment here, you can see, I put it on his Instagram. You played the game of your life, Alistair. Immense.
Yeah,
Wasn't he?
He was fat. Both fullbacks were phenomenal, but yeah, Ali Johnston probably shaded it. Just no, the wingers on his side just never got any change out of him, regardless of who came on. Yeah, I agree. It probably was his best game for us. Really, really, and willing to put his body on the line and take risks and just be there first when he was on a booking. So like there was a point we were 1-0 up and he's defending for his life and he slid in and a millimeter, he gets that a millimeter wrong. 1, it's a penalty. 2, it's a booking. It could be and then any chance we had of our next game, he's out suspended. I just thought he was phenomenal. And again, I don't want to bring the mood down when we've had such a good campaign. But the problem with these kind of performances at this level is it puts a massive amount of focus on us as a club, and that's positive because we've sort of put ourselves back in the level we all think we should belong. But it's going to put our players in the shop window, and that's obviously, I can say, and the only good news about that is that they're all well contracted, and if somebody comes in, we'll get good funds for them. But I really don't want to. I don't want to have to replace Ali Johnston before. I want at least another season out of him. He'll be very difficult to replace as and when the time comes.
Very difficult to replace, but I think very difficult to keep.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because that's the shop window. He's in the shop window. Everybody watches these games all over Europe, and they'll be watching that going, who is this dude? Immediately get my men onto him. I want his folder on my desk Monday morning.
Well, exactly. Him, Kuhn's done it against both German teams, and he's obviously having a phenomenal season. Maeda's gone to another level. Look, even Engels, I thought he showed so much maturity in that game, in particularly first half. He was doing his defensive work. He was covering every blade of grass. His passing was good. I thought our passing generally was very good. We took the ball under pressure, and we're happy to play through them. I didn't think they pressed as hard as I thought I would expect, but I thought we were very comfortable under their press, and we were confident enough to not get flustered and play backwards and round in little triangles to get out, and we got out regularly. And while we're talking about great performances, it was Callum McGregor's probably best game of the season, if not for a year or two. I thought he was phenomenal as well. Look, I don't think there was anyone that could really be said that they had anything below par, but some of them played out of their skin.
Is it true that nobody was below par? Or are we just saying that because we're all feeling nice?
I don't think they. I don't think they. I thought Hatate was, and that's where you're probably going.
First name. I don't think of a pink elephant
Yeah.
immediately.
No, look. There was a couple of times in the first half that his final ball was not as good as you would want it to be, but I still thought he had. I thought he had pass marks on the night. He's a funny one because sometimes he looks like he starts to tire and then he finds another wind, and I think we saw that. Was it the Bruges game? Was it? No, no, it was Young Boys. We thought he was dead on his feet, and then he played that killer pass over the top and put Ida away, and obviously that forced the own goal.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it shows the weakness on the bench that we only went to 2 subs. You got 12 people on that bench, and we only used 2 subs. And Hatate did look tired, but you know what he's got in his locker that he could have pulled out just one of those passes again, and that could have been the thing that took us through in the tie. So he was probably given a bit longer than he would have otherwise done. If Paulo Bernardo was fit, he maybe would have been subbed earlier. But yeah, and look, Martin Nisbet's probably right there. Yeah, like Hatate and Jota, that's not the strongest part of their game. Is the bit off the ball. Hatate's, I think it's the intensity, and Jota's probably still getting used to having to do that level of work because he wasn't asked to do that level of work under Ange. But yeah, I think there's definitely pass marks across the board, albeit that maybe we didn't see the absolute best of Hatate.
Well, Seamus McKenna here talking about how he worked his socks off, a point that was reiterated by Alan Shearer. Was he on comms for you?
Sorry, no, he wasn't. Andy Townsend for us and Guy Mowbray.
I was not looking forward to having to listen to Shearer for the whole game, but he was very complimentary towards Celtic and very keen for us to do well, and wasn't that annoying. Actually, he was fine. He was pretty good.
Hatate did work hard. I just think because he's first press and he's been asked and he's running from the middle, he's covering a hell of a lot of ground. And I do think his press is, and maybe this is by design, his press is more about shutting off passing lanes and trying to restrict where the next pass goes. Whereas I guess a full press is you're actually trying to get contact on the player that you're pressing and potentially turn over the ball, which he doesn't really do that often. But maybe that's not what's been asked of him. Looks pretty upset, to be honest.
I'm on mute. You didn't tell me. I
didn't notice.
I don't know where I came across this. I can't remember, but I don't know if this is true or not. But this is some explanation translated, I think, from Japanese as to why he's upset. He was expressing his frustration with the officiating, claiming Celtic were unfairly treated throughout the game. Did you see this?
I haven't seen this story, no, but I
sort of like they felt robbed. It was painful to watch. We gave everything on the Hatate. It was painful to watch what happened tonight. Hatate said, his voice cracking with emotion. We gave everything on that pitch, but VAR and the referee completely failed us. There were so many fouls, clear ones, and not a single yellow card or foul called. It's like they weren't even looking. We felt helpless, like the game was slipping away from us, not because of our mistakes, but because of the referee's inability to make the right calls. Your thoughts?
Well, it might be over egging the pudding slightly. I didn't see lots of glaring errors, but I definitely saw quite a few. And this happens in Scotland as well. It's the little ones that seem relatively innocuous, but just allow play to continue or stop us in our tracks and break up the game or not. The most glaring one in this regard is the forearm across Maira's face in the not quite immediate build up to the goal, but it's a clear forearm from Upamecano right in his face. He goes down. It's 100%. I think it's 100% a free kick. You get that most places in the modern game. You get that. It's a straight arm. It comes across. It hits him in the face. He goes down. The referee looks at it about 3 times and chooses to not give a free kick and wave play on. Now, at the very least, even if it's not a free kick, and it is, it's clearly to the head region, face head. That's an automatic stoppage. He's got to stop the game. If he stops the game, that breaks up that play. And ultimately, yeah, they might have found another chance, but that chance doesn't eventuate in the way it does because it doesn't get to play out how it did. So yeah, I just think slack. And I think things that were relatively innocuous, we got pulled up on, and other things just were allowed to slide. So yeah, look, I don't like to moan about referees, but for the supposed elite level, we've had some shocking refs in the Champions League this year. And again, it sounds a bit churlish, particularly when we're the big boys in Scotland, and we always hear complaints from smaller clubs that if it goes in the favour of one team, it's usually in favour of the bigger side. But I do feel like there's a bit of that in the Champions League. I feel like the big names, get the benefit of the doubt more often than not. So yeah, and the thing is, if you're in the game, there's stuff you recognize that you will never see on TV. The little, because the TV cameras mostly follow the ball. The little pulls off the ball, the little, standing on people's toes inside the box. I've done them all. But yeah, like all those little bits and pieces that, clearly you aren't going to necessarily pick up on the telly, but the referee and the officials and the VAR team should be across. Yeah, I think the Maeda one is the one that sticks the most. And Rodgers again, Brendan Rodgers, he addressed it in his after-match comments in the press conference, and he said basically Upamecano was smart. He yanked Maeda to his feet so that it could continue on. And maybe we should have been a bit more. I think elsewhere I was quoted as saying he should be a bit more street smart and streetwise and just stay down. And if he stays down, then the ref's forced to stop it. But yeah, it's been and gone now. I think we've got better at this level for being a bit savvy and like staying down and using. I think there was a point, I can't remember who it was. Somebody got a bit of a foul and they just stayed down. So when we were under a bit of pressure second half, and
was it?
Yeah, maybe. They just stayed down a wee bit longer and let people get their breath back and got a bit of treatment and slowed it up. Things like that, we just need to be a hell of a lot smarter at. And I think we have overall been better at that this season. But I think we still need to be playing at the same, get on the same level as these big European teams do in terms of managing the game.
Definitely. So Jeffrey Schlipp finished the night with the most duels won for a guy who's only just arrived. He slotted in like he's been part of this team for years. Solid performance. Very true. Can't say fairer than that.
He was excellent. I was reading something from the current Leicester manager or acting Leicester manager earlier, and he was sort of saying if he'd realised Schlipp was available, he'd have jumped at getting him on loan back at Leicester because he's obviously still well rated there. But the interesting thing amongst that was, because we know his versatility, but he was saying he really is mostly a left midfielder or a left winger. Like he said, he would be able to fit in at left back. He can absolutely play there. But for somebody that's not their natural position, to play up against guys like Elise and Sanye and keep them at bay really for the majority of the game. Okay, he allowed that last cross to come in and that obviously ultimately undid us. But I thought he had an excellent game. And yeah, again, you don't play as many years and as many games in the Premier League as he has if you're not a quality player. And I think if there's a way to get him on a Joe Hart style deal when his contract at Palace is up at the end of the season, then we should absolutely be trying to do that because he'd be a cracking addition, and the versatility would play well as and when needed in terms of injuries and other rotation.
Don't know if you saw the recent show. Was it the last one? I think it was the last one, yeah. Where I was talking about our need for a left back, and obviously, if we can get Schlipp and his wages aren't a problem in whatever way, that would be handy. But in the absence of getting him, I questioned whether James Penrice might be an option. And Stephen told me I was talking pish, and so did a few other people, but quite a few people were keen on him. I don't know. What's your view on Penrice, just quickly? Are you with Stephen?
Well, I don't think he's shocking. I don't think he should be near us though. He's 27, 20. Well, I think he's 28 or 29. Like
he's not 20. He's 26. That is his age. He's only one age, and it's 26.
He's not a Celtic class, is my view on him.
That's exactly what you said about him.
I don't know who you're going to say here.
You do.
I don't.
Bought him from Dundee.
I don't think I never said he wasn't Celtic class. I didn't say that. I said $1 million quid. He's worth a gamble, and he's turned out to be.
Eventually, you came around to that whenever it was going to happen. But when it was first mooted, you were like, "Nah, no way, not for me, not for me."
Well, I think we were expecting a bit more budget spend, to be honest. And he's not a first teamer, is he? And he's not. I don't think he's going to be a first teamer anytime soon. So I kind of stand by that. He's a good player to play in rotation, and he's decent. And he might get to be, closer to starter at some point, but it's probably not going to be in that 8 position. It might be somewhere further back as a rotation for Kalmak if he can prove himself there. And look, I really like him. I think, but Penrice, look, he's probably the best of the rest in the SPFL. Do I think that's where we should be looking at for our backup left back? No, I don't. I think if it's not Schlupp, for me, it's try and raid what? Yeah, well, I don't think. But people moan about Ralston being the backup, and it's that kind of level.
I
right?
don't moan about that. It's fine.
Well, if you want to take us further, I don't mind Ralston either, right? But if AJ leaves or was injured for the whole Champions League campaign, would you want Ralston playing full time? No, you wouldn't. Yeah, Penfold wants Penrice. I can see it. Brilliant. But no, I think somebody like Penrice, an okay cover rotation in the Scottish Premier League. But if you had to go into Europe with them, no thanks. I think if we can't get Schlupp, we've got to be looking to raid. I like that, raid. Somebody, a young player from an academy, Barcelona, Ajax, Benfica, the like, and a bit like Vi, somebody with a similar sort of pedigree and background, and get them in, play in rotation with KT, be mentored by KT, and ultimately take his place at some point. That's the profile I think we should be looking at for another left back, because as I've said all along, I'm not sure how much games we're going to get out of KT. So I don't think you're signing a backup for KT. I think you're signing an interchange for KT, and on that basis, it needs to be close to the same kind of level. And I know that's hard, especially on budget. So that's why I either get Schlupp on a Joe Hart style 15, 18 grand a week deal where he's done it all, he's seen it all, and now he wants to come and play here, or you get a young player from an academy who's willing to sort of put himself in the shop window and get some games under his belt.
All right. So our European journey came to an end, sadly. And obviously that gave a great deal of joy to some people, especially on the other side of the city, which is all a bit daft. But I saw this one comment which injects a note of realism into proceedings. Baldy Bassey saying, I might be in the minority here, but I seriously don't know how any of our fans can laugh at that lot tonight when we lost to Queen's Park only 9 days ago. Are winning sweet Fanny Adams yet again. And if anything, then competing with Bayern shows we're further behind than ever before. Nail on the head there from that self-aware bear.
Yeah, stop clocks right twice a day. So yeah, there's obviously the odd one out there that gets it right occasionally. I was taunting a few of them earlier by just calling them coefficient monkeys. That's about all they're good for. They can stick to doing that, and we'll stick to playing Champions League and winning trebles.
Yeah, very good. Coefficient monkeys. All right. I'm glad we don't have to watch these people too often. At least I don't. I never have to watch them. But This is Manila on Twitter, otherwise known as Kitty Punero. Shower of tires. Oh, well, I won't. You can see what it says there. Shower of tiresome up their own arse. See you next Tuesdays. And I agreed with the comment at the bottom, especially those two.
Yeah,
like that. Mika Richards. It's unbearable. How can you invite him into your living room?
What I don't know what Thierry Henry thinks of how's he ended up with these two idiots next to him. Like, it's just ridiculous. I only see their clips when, obviously, it's usually Peter Schmeichel works with them, doesn't he? So usually it's father and son post-match or pre-match interviews. So I've seen them on there, and that pissed up Rod Stewart interview was with them as well. So and Carragher singing Maggie May across.
No,
he's just an idiot. He's just an idiot. He's everywhere as well. He's on that bloody overlap as well, which that's actually quite funny with Keno and Neville and Wrighty, but he's dreadful.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was just reading the comments there. Oh, you're very fond of Fitbad tweets. Have you seen a good Fitbad tweet recently?
I know that there was some kicking around because he's went on Substack, so he's not been on social media as much, but he pops back every so often. So I did see the one. Is this the Sickner one, or is this? Oh no, no, I haven't seen this. But yeah.
I need you to be brave tonight for the sake of my CV. Says Brendan to the assorted players. We'll get on to the subject matter of that, but yeah, let's run through the players. Can you name them from left to right?
Well, it's a rather is that an unkind Kasper Schmeichel? Is it?
Yes, it must be.
What's the mask thing about? That's weird. Jota, 2 seasons ago, Callum McGregor. That's new Maeda with the new hair.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine is that Trusty, maybe?
I think it's Trusty, yeah.
Yeah. Carter Vickers.
Come back to that one. Who's in the
end? Who is that? Who's got a beard and massive hair?
That's got to be Kuhn. A piece of wood.
I don't know in that way. Is that a very you can tell by it's a very unkind Adam Ida, I would say.
Of course, look at the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes have it. That's that is a bit unkind, I think.
So what's the suggestion there? Is that because of the way he speaks when he's in an interview afterwards? He's so wooden. Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
idea?
Or if you've been really unkind, is he a big lump of wood that doesn't do much up front? I think if it's that, that's pretty unfair. But generally, I do like football tweets. I'm still confused by Kasper's sort of eyewear, headband, etc.
Yeah, I can't shed any light on that. But that brings us on, does it not, to a little discussion about Brendan? Because, well, what did it say? The quote there. I need you to be brave tonight for the sake of my CV. And you sort of mentioned it briefly there a moment ago. Now, you see a lot of this on social media, don't you? Right board, you have to back this guy, give him everything he wants. He can take us to the moon. Has Brendan proved himself in this Champions League? He's done a tremendous job. Excellent manager. Annoys me a bit just the way he is, but excellent manager. And well, you remember when we had the guy on from Scotland's Coefficient, and
the other
Gavin, and we posited that maybe it was a good time that Rodgers came back for those 3 easy seasons of Champions League football.
Yeah.
Now, next year we have to do a qualifying round. This year's been pretty good for the Coefficient. I suspect the year after that, there'll be one qualifying round as well. So Brendan probably backs himself to get into the Champions League both times through one qualifying round, you would think. Yeah. But this whole question of his signing a new contract, what are your views on that?
I'd like to see him sign a new contract. I think he's definitely taken this team to another level. He's got the board to invest in the squad, albeit probably not a net investment, but we've definitely started to push up a little bit on signings. Whether you agree that that was the right amount of money for those players or not, at least we're now operating at that level. And he's 100% taken us on in Europe and at home it's turning into a procession. So what has he got? He's got one more year after this one. I think that's all he had, a 3-year deal. I'd be trying to extend it. For the one, he's proved himself, and if he wants to be here and he can keep getting the board to support him, then I can't think that there's, well, I'd rather not gamble trying to find somebody better and potentially end up with somebody a lot worse. So I'd prefer to keep him. And just like a player, if you extend his contract and he does decide to go, or he falls out with the board, or the board show less ambition and won't match where he wants to be, or whatever other reason he might want to go for his own ambitions to have one more tilted, a richer league, then we're protected. We made a lot of money to let Ange Postecoglou leave. I think it was about best part of 4, 5, 6 million, maybe. I think we got 8 or 9 from when Rodgers went the last time. So you should be protecting your key assets, and the manager's definitely one of them. So I'd be extending his contract at the end of the season for sure.
Okay, in the comments they've gone off on one totally irrelevant chit chat about comedians and TV shows, stuff like that. So I'm not. There's no comments for me to flash up, but yeah, Brendan. You see, I can't shake this feeling that he will ultimately say, "Look, I was here last time, and I realized I left and upset people and all that, and this time, one thing I was sure I was going to do was come back and fulfill my contract. Wanted to come back and fulfill my contract and put Celtic back on the European map again. And one more season in the Champions League, and he can leave saying he's done both of those things if that's his desire, and nobody can really argue with it, right?
He can, but I just thought the phrase, "I want us to be a seasoned team at this level," 2 seasons in the Champions League doesn't do that. So either he's fast and loose with language, and you and I are both sticklers for good use of language, and there's I think he picks and chooses his words pretty carefully. He's probably a bit looser with them than some, but if to say you want to take the club to be seasoned at this level, I don't think you get that on one more year of doing okay. I think that's consistently playing at this level, but I take the point. It's going to get harder, and turnover a squad makes it more difficult as well. So, if you can, I wish he was. If you can keep this, there's 2 schools of thought. He's clearly an ambitious dude, and he's walked out before. He wouldn't walk out mid-contract again. I don't think he would. But as you say, he could walk after 3 years, and he wouldn't have effectively done anything wrong. And he's got a massive ego, which is part of the reason for his success. And he will be still ambitious. He's still a relatively young man. And that's a backhanded compliment for you as well, Gav, I believe.
You, yes,
so he's a relative, certainly in managerial terms, he's a relatively young man.
He is young, yeah.
Yeah, so he's early 50s, and you've got guys like Ange turning 60. So he's got another 10 years at least at the top level, and there's lots of them going to the 70s. So I'd be surprised if he didn't want a tilt again. However, he's had ups and downs, and he's been burned. So he might be a lot more picky about where he ends up next time. And if you're picky, then that reduces your overall options for what you want to do. I don't really see him going to the continent, being honest. I don't think that's really, I think he still always sort of veers back to British players. So I would say he's probably going to stay in the UK, and that probably means the Premier League again. I'm sure he'd love to win the Premier League, but there's only so many teams that could do that. And who's going to hire
at the moment?
Yeah, nobody's. I can't see anyone.
Did you see his conversation with Martin O'Neill?
No, not yet. It's on the watch list, but I haven't got around to that yet. No,
because there's one little snippet of this that I think might be quite telling, and I'll play it for you now.
Contract next year. I'll be here nearly 6 years, so which is a long time. But I feel fresh.
Does that set alarm bells ringing?
Nah, not necessarily. It's a bit interesting that he rolls the two lots together. I like the
Yeah.
two.
It is.
like I
6
just 2
years is a
years.
long time. I've been here
Like
6 years now.
I just 2 years didn't happen.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Is it 6 years? I don't know if it is 6 years.
Coming up on 6 years, 2.5 plus 3 and a bit, isn't it? Or, yeah,
No,
3.
Did he do 3.5? Yeah, I don't know how much he did.
By the time he's finished this 3 years, that'll be 3 years. Yes, and he was 2.5 last time, wasn't
he? Yeah. Well, he went in February, didn't he? So yeah, just a bit over 2.5.
So he's rounding up to 6 to say, "Look, I've been managing here for 6 years.
But that's still 18 months away before his contract's up. Like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think there's a lot of water to flow under the bridge before we get to. And I think I agree with McLaughlin P's latest comment. What we do this summer will play well into whether he wants to stay longer. So I think if he signs an extension in this close season, we can assume that he's getting back this summer significantly, because I don't think he signs an extension if he isn't absolutely nailed on, knows he's getting what he wants in terms of money and even players identified and deals done or nearly done.
Yeah, well, somebody asked me if I'd prepared a song for Brendan. I haven't done a new one, but there is an old classic we could play. Is it an appropriate time to do it? Because he's achieved a lot this year. So
this is a
let's
classic.
put it on, shall we? Our story begins in the county Antrim, where our gaffer is from. This song's about him. Carnlough is a place as fair as them all, though it's not quite as good as nearby Cushendall. Ballymena was first, where a player he'd be, but an injury at Reading ended prematurely. Via England and Wales he learned incrementally, to the green hoops of Celtic, where he's in the hot seat. Sure, Des O'Connor inspired the young pasty Brendan, so he spends the big bucks on his mad permatan. At night he just smiles to see what the time is, for his teeth are as white as a polar bear's jizz. Ballymena was first, where a player he'd be, now a trim stylish coach, not a slovenly Aussie. Though he's small, he can grow, make his legend complete. In the green hoops of Celtic, where he's in the hot seat. A slight change of tone there with that little musical number. Not the usual electronic 80s thing.
I'd forgotten that probably my favorite and least favorite line was in that song, within just a few bars of each other. I still dislike the dig at Ange. I think it's.
Oh.
I think I don't think. I think it's unnecessary. It was an unnecessary dig at Ange, but I continue to tip my hat to his teeth are as white as a polar bear's jizz. Not that
Poetry.
I'm not sure that a polar bear's jizz is super white, but I like the imagery.
Oh dear, the times we have. Look at Tati Schlupp there critiquing my vocals. How dare he? Huh? All right, we better move it on. There's 260 people watching, which is pretty good. Got to be happy with that, considering we don't have. Well, I mean, we have one Celtic influencer on in the shape of Paul. But,
well, we don't have Ian with his stream. We just have him chirping from the sidelines with his man flu.
Yes. So if you are new, of course, feel free to subscribe. If you loved that musical break, or indeed find it absolutely awful and unbearable, either way, you know, we're about evoking emotions here. So consider that a tick in that column and click subscribe. It's only our second season, pushing hard for 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. So it means a lot to us if you do. If you've watched us before, just have a little check now and see if you've already subscribed, because you might not have. Sometimes that happens. People are like, oh, geez, I thought I'd subscribed, but I haven't. So we welcome and appreciate every single new subscriber. Not right?
Here ends the advert.
And no matter where you're from, you know, it's a Celtic world. So whether you're back at home in Scotland or Ireland or far-flung places in the States or even China, we've got people in China. Here's a little message from China.
Celtic fans are everywhere, even here in China. Billions of us are subscribing to a Celtic world. You should too.
Billions are subscribing, but it doesn't show up for some reason on the YouTube subscriber list. All right, we'll move it on. After all that frivolity, this is a good point here. Get Gav on at Celtic Park at halftime. Take the heat off Liam McGrandles. Do you think I could take the absolute inundation of hate towards me if I got up and started singing about Brendan's teeth? Right, let's move it on. This is our fixture list of late. Obviously, we've just played the Bayern game. So up next, we have Hibs, away to Hibs, home to Aberdeen, away to St Mirren, home to Hibs, home to Rangers, home to Hearts. Those are all the pre-split fixtures. I asked the question on the last show, where do you think the season's going to end effectively, Paul? Do you have any idea? Have you done the sums?
You can do them, but I think it assumes that Rangers win every game from here, and who's convinced that could happen? I'm not. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's worth doing it. I think currently, is it 6 wins we need in the league? I think it's 6 wins. If you put that back up, where does that take us to? I think it takes us to the week after Hearts.
I just thought Brown Warrior was encouraging people to subscribe there. Didn't realize he was being a little bit naughty.
The
comments, Sean, on a Celtic World do not necessarily reflect the views of the Celtic World. Okay, put this back up.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, there's 5 league games there. I think we need 6 wins from memory. So I think it's the game after Hearts in theory that.
Assuming they don't drop any points.
Yeah, well, that includes them dropping points to us, but no one else.
Yeah.
But yeah, dependent on what else happens, obviously, it could be sooner. So yeah, it'd be great if it was like against them at our place. That would be an absolute treat. As if that
would be
weekend
great.
couldn't get any, as if that weekend couldn't get any drunker for me. It would do if that happened. But
Mhm.
yeah, I've got Fatboy Slim and Kneecap that weekend. So plus
Fatboy
the game.
Slim, man. Those are two different experiences, aren't they?
Yeah, so yeah, Fatboy Slim on the Friday night, game on a Sunday night, and Kneecap on Paddy's Day, Monday night. So
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus, we're 50 minutes into the show. Would you believe, Paul? God, time is flying. Let's remind ourselves what the domestic picture looks like. Here's the table, sitting pretty at the top. We're playing Hibs, who are up to 5th. Wasn't long ago that Hibs and Hearts were down at the bottom of the table. Was it Christmas time or something? But you can see from this that their form, both of them have picked up form significantly. Hibs haven't lost in the last 6.
Yeah,
Pretty good going there.
a lot of draws there.
Potential for a post-high hangover coming back from Bayern, filled with so much pride we can't turn up against Hibs at Easter Road. Is that a concern?
I'd be very surprised if that was the case. There's always a possibility. I think it's to our advantage that we played Tuesday as opposed to Wednesday, so we've had that extra day of recovery. I think there'll be a little bit of rotation, not a huge amount. I think we'll play a pretty strong side. Anyone that's maybe carrying a little knock or a bit of extra fatigue might be allowed to sit on the bench. But yeah, I expect us to put a really strong side out. And whilst they are unbeaten, there's 4 draws out of the last 6. I expect us to have too much for them again. And yeah, I expect us to win that game reasonably comfortably. Sorry, yeah, my wife's just got back and the dogs are getting a bit excited.
That's Paul's cockapoo or two.
Cockapoo or two.
Making a very welcome entrance onto the podcast. Yeah, Martin saying, is that the time you just have to be up to watch the hoops? Those are the times that both you and I were in the same time zone. Have to be up to watch. The difference is you do get up to watch them. I tend to get up in the morning a bit earlier and stick them on and maybe skip through bits and skip half time and all that.
So what you're saying is I'm a better fan than you, is what you're saying.
You're a better fan than I am. But, the best fans in the world, of course, are those who are potentially the subject of a takeover bid. So this is the biggest news in the world, the biggest news in world football. Stunning. It's an advanced stage, says Keith Jackson, who never gets anything incorrect. So you've obviously seen this news. It's kind of just sort of broken today, I think, or at least it has today for me anyway. Everyone's talking about it on their channels and stuff. And obviously the Daily Record. Remember all the times they reported about millionaires buying them and how it turned out? These were all the previous ones talking about Charles Green. Best thing to happen to us for years. Craig White. Bleak times ahead for Celtic. Celtic will be left for dead behind us. Trust me, said Chris Graham about Green. If I was Peter Lawwell or Neil Lennon, I'd be very worried because of Charles Green's plans. Anyway,
it's not like Darrell King, to be wrong. Jesus.
Very similar series of points there. I was watching one of their YouTube channels earlier, just a wee bit to see what the hell this was all about. And it was fun watching the comments. AR getting in their comments and annoying them as much as he could. It was quite funny. Keith Jackson, desperate for any kind of news for his beloved Huns. Now, the interesting thing about this is, who knows whether this is going to happen? And even if it does, it's not like it's a big money bags coming in and doing a Jack Walker. Those days are gone, right? As someone says here, football has changed. You can't just throw money at it. We're still years ahead of them. Ultimately, that's a fact, right?
Well, you've got to run it. You've got to run it properly, like a business. Meet financial fair play rules, and all of that other bits and bobs. Yeah, there's still people, ways and means. Have you had this R&D stuff going around whilst we're talking about financials and takeovers? And have you heard about the Dundee United Hibs thing? So there's this like little tax loophole that you can apply for a R&D rebate. It's not designed for football at all, but there's these companies that are will sort of put anything that will put a research and development spin on anything that they can put their hands on in your business to get a rebate. And Dundee United have got, I think might be as much as 600 grand in their accounts as a provision, because I think they now think that they did this and maybe they shouldn't have. And I think Hibs have got a provision in theirs as well. Now, apparently Rangers have done the same, but they haven't. Well, you never see their accounts, but by all accounts, they don't have a provision in there yet, which is why nobody's talking about it. But this is the latest. And to be honest, you'd think that after all their problems, they'd have their accounts whiter than white, but clearly not. Yeah, apparently this is the next sort of football scandal and financial mess that's coming in terms of tax issues in the UK. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I don't believe a word of it. As people said in those comments, and I'm sure they're saying in our comments, renewals are not far away. They've just done another share issue to prop themselves up.
I think that was converting debt into equity.
Well, that's all they can do, right? That's all they can do. They couldn't spend any money in the last window. I think they even kicked Lyle Cameron down the road until the summer, and that'll be another tribunal to decide how much Dundee are due from that. I don't doubt they've even paid for Connor Barron yet, from what I can gather. Yeah, I've got absolutely no concerns about what's going on there. They're a basket case. They're a bunch of jokers, and the brand's utterly toxic, as is the fan base. So, yeah, I've got zero concerns about what happens with them. As long as we keep our business and club and football operation working as well as it has done, and push it on to another level that many, many, many years behind us.
Yeah, no matter what happens, because like these investors, I saw quotes from them saying, like, any investment we need is exactly that's an investment. We're not just coming in to throw cash around. We want to see a return on our investment. So, you know, even if they did get some sort of the money bags back, or the money would mostly go on, you know, infrastructure type spends, you know, long-term things.
Look what's happened to Manchester United since the Glazers' massive investment.
Yeah.
The fan base hates them. They're absolutely in the toilet. You know, I had a Man United fan who's a good mate of mine send me a message this morning saying, or yesterday saying, saw the last 10, 15 minutes, sickening way to lose, but at least you guys can still get to hear the Champions League music. I have no idea when that's coming back to my club, and that's a Man United fan. You know, it's supposed to be one of the biggest clubs going. So, yeah, careful what you wish for, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how I'm going to tie this next one in, but it's an image that Kaiser, who was supposed to be here today, shared with us. Apparently this came up in the drink along when they're talking about football clubs in the Champions League. And Dano and Kaiser were trying to reimagine what Brest's crest should look like. And Kaiser, I believe, came up with this. Do you know the movie that's from?
Total Recall.
Oh, In Evidence. Well done. Yes. I don't know what "Au la mer" is supposed to signify. But anyway, that's Kaiser's contribution. He may not be with us, but he's with us in spirit. So hopefully he will be showing up again.
Whilst we're talking about Brest, I will keep it to the football.
Yes.
Showed, you know, their second leg showed quite how harsh the Champions League environment can be. They've had a great tournament, but they've lost their playoff 10-0 in aggregate to PSG. They lost the first game 3-0. They lost the second game 7-0. So yeah, there's the compare and contrast. We take Bayern right to the edge, and meanwhile, Brest, to be honest, I think I've got one of the smallest budgets in the Champions League, but we're punching well above their weight. But finally run out of steam and got absolutely thumped in the playoff.
And Man City are out. I haven't even looked at the other results that much, but I know Man City are out as well.
Juventus are out. PSV knocked Juventus out as well. So yeah, I think they were down 2-1 maybe from the first leg. Won the second 3-1, got through. So yeah, 4-3 on aggregate. I think PSV knocked out Juventus. So, I think I think PSV were the higher seeded team, but you'd expect Juventus to, with their sort of pedigree, to turn that tie around. But no. So yeah, there's we're in pretty esteemed company with some of the clubs that are leaving the Champions League at this stage.
Sad though. Sad that we're leaving.
It is
But,
sad. I thought
We got a nice. Huh?
I think you were going to say it was sad that City were out. It's like, that's great
Mhm.
news.
Sad that we're out.
Yes.
But we did have some nice European memories, and you shared something in our group chat, which was a little comedy vignette about one of our previous great European moments. Do you want to introduce that? Tell us who these people are and what they do, and then we'll have a look at it.
Yeah, so this is a couple of Aussie brothers that go by the name of Shepmates on social media. This sounds so silly when you say it, but it's great when you watch it. So they're basically two young Aussie guys. They've got the classic Aussie look. There's mullets, there's moustaches, but they do lip syncing to sporting commentary. So they've got the headsets on, and yeah, they basically lip sync and get excited over famous bits of sport commentary. They do cricket, they do Aussie rules, rugby, soccer, football, the lot. And yeah, they've done some beauties. I've been following them for quite a while, but little old Celtic turned up on the Aussie feed today, and yeah, shared it with the team.
And this is it.
1, Barcelona 0. I can hardly bear it.
I know how Lionel. Oh, he's done.
There's a chance for 21. Can he be the hero? He scored! It's a goal! 21! It's Celtic 2! Barcelona 0!
I can hardly believe my eyes.
Unbelievable! Celtic in Finland. 21 Finland. Astonishing scenes in Celtic Park. I think the roof has just come off the stadium. Barcelona stunned. Celtic 2, Barcelona 0. Incredible! Celtic 1, Barcelona 0. I can hardly bear it.
I know how Lionel. Oh, he's done.
There's a chance for 21. Can he be the hero? He scored! It's a goal! 21! It's Celtic 2, Barcelona 0.
I can hardly believe my eyes.
Unbelievable! Celtic in Finland. 21 Finland. Astonishing scenes in Celtic Park. I think the roof has just come off the stadium. Barcelona stunned. Celtic 2, Barcelona 0. Incredible!
That is brilliant. Unfortunately, for some reason, it was a little bit off, wasn't it? The audio and their pictures there when I was playing
okay.
that.
I think it looked okay on mine, but yeah.
Because it's so perfect.
Yeah.
The timing of the way they perform that, like they're
Yeah,
right on point with the audio.
It's very good. Like, I don't know if you checked them out in any others. There's a brilliant
Never
one.
seen
There's a cracker from one of the recent India-Australian matches in the cricket. One of the Indians got himself out pretty cheaply, and the commentator went absolutely nuts. Like, he was raging. And yeah, their version of that was very, very good. But yeah, like it sounds daft, but when they do it all together, it's brilliant.
Brilliant. All right, well, that's a good way to go out. Thank you very much, Paul, for being with us, of course. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Covered lots of subjects, as always. Like and subscribe if you're new, or if you've just not subscribed before, please do so. We would very much appreciate it. Put a smile on our faces, wouldn't it, Paul? Off in these far-flung countries, chatting about Celtic. It's enough to make you want to subscribe, isn't it? Pete McGee says, "Cheers, Gav. My ears are still bleeding." I can't imagine he's talking about my singing. I must have had the volume up a bit too loud in that Tony Watt thing. Is that what he means, Paul?
I think it's probably
No, he means you're singing.
it's probably singing.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. Oh, there's someone making a comment. Cara says, "That's my cousin Paul commentating." Cara
Cuddihy.
C.
Paul Cuddihy, probably.
And Cara C used to have a different username, didn't she? That's a recognizable image.
Potentially.
Definitely had a different username. Haven't seen you for a while. Nice to see you back again. All right. As Big Day says, cheers, Gavin, Paul, and Troops. Remember to like and subscribe. Troops. So we'll leave it at that. All right. We'll see you back then on Thursday. Is
Monday.
that right? No, today's Thursday. See you
Today's
back
Thursday.
on
Monday.
We'll see you back on Thursday.
Cheers.
Take it easy, everyone. Hail, hail.